What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzy. This little program I like to do called the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. You know that feeling that you get when you're just getting out of being sick? That's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm through it. I feel like I'm on the other side, almost. Still a little bit. It's a little bit there. It's hanging out. It's hanging out a little bit. But I feel like I'm breaking through. And man, it's a wonderful feeling. But welcome into the show. We got a Miles Sanders appreciation show today because I was crunching some more numbers yesterday, and oh man, they're beautiful. Also, I did a whole string of guest appearances yesterday. One was with PHL 17, my man Jason Lee, for the sports scene. So hopefully you guys caught that last night. The other was on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. I was on with the other Mac and Mac, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. And I was also on Bird Gang. I was on with the Bird Gang guys there at the Bird Gang YouTube channel. And it's interesting for me to be a guest. Like, to me personally, I'll think about it later as a guest. And it makes you think about things that normally you wouldn't think about, because when you do your own show, you're going down your own line of thinking. And true, you might watch something and that might spark an idea for the show, or you might read something that'll spark an idea for the show. But when people are asking you the questions, it kind of makes you, and they're posing the questions differently, and they're making you think of things that you maybe didn't think about. It definitely makes you reflect a little bit. And there were certain things that we got into yesterday throughout that whole line of guest hits that maybe really start turning the wheels. And it was going beyond the idea that I got into yesterday on this show, which was Jonathan Gannon and Jalen Hurts have risen to the occasion. Two guys that were questioned the most going into the offseason have come out of the offseason. And yes, albeit with better rosters around them, but still, case in point, they have made us feel better about the positions they hold here in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, far and away, no doubt. Jonathan Gannon, I know a lot of people don't want to give him credit, but bottom line is, we rattled off the numbers for you yesterday in case you missed it. This team is third in fewest yards allowed. This is defensively. Third in fewest yards allowed. Fourth in fewest points allowed. Have forced the most turnovers, and they are fifth in sacks. They have the fifth most sacks in the NFL. So defensively speaking, yes, the proof's in the pudding. They've done a hell of a job this year. Personnel, maybe a little advisory going on there from Vic Fangio. Bottom line is Jonathan Gannon's defensive unit is performing at a premium. And I'll also point out to you, as much as we look at the Dallas Cowboy defense and go, wow, Micah Parsons, wow, Trayvon Diggs, look at all these, they're amazing. As long as we look at that and we know what a juggernaut they can be, the Eagles are only allowing 0.3 of a point more than the Dallas Cowboy defense. And bonkers to me, but it's true, CD Deuce has 5 interceptions and leads the NFL. That's pretty good. So, yeah, I think Jonathan Gannon and his defensive unit has stepped up tremendously this season. Jalen Hurts can go on and on. The point that came to me yesterday about Jalen Hurts, and it's a very clear-cut one, and it's definitely a line in the sand for people. If you don't acknowledge the vast improvement from Jalen Hurts, if you don't acknowledge the fact that, especially right now that we don't know the status of Josh Allen, still don't know the status. Sean McDermott talked about it yesterday, saying he's day-to-day with an elbow injury. So whether or not he's going to be able to go this weekend or not, still questionable. But right now he's day-to-day. But with his status kind of still up in the air, Jalen Hurts, quarterback of an undefeated team, second highest passer rating in the NFL. Yeah, I would say he's the front runner for MVP right now at this given time. Going into week 10 here, Jalen Hurts, number 1. And if you deny the idea of A, his improvement, and B, being the front runner for the MVP award, you just a hater, son. You just a hater. You have to acknowledge that. So then, you know what? I started to go a step further. Started thinking about it a little bit more. And the idea that I had was this. You got those two guys as the big step forward. Those were the two guys that we talked about the most throughout the offseason. What will they do with what's built up around them? How will they perform? And they've performed greatly. So let's go after that. Who am I looking at next on the list? Who did we talk about the most going into the offseason? Breaking last year and then going into this year. Through that whole offseason, who we talk about? The top three guys. If I had to go to three guys, because it was clear-cut, two guys we were talking about. The third guy that has absolutely hit the ball out of the ballpark. And then I was like, wow, there's three guys that have just absolutely been incredible. Other than Howie, who's put it all together. I mean, really, when you talk about even Jonathan Gannon, you talk about Jalen Hurts, the guy even above that is Howie Roseman, who put all these pieces together. And even though Howie's by-the-book dumbest decision has turned out, I think Mike Sealski wrote an article about this a couple weeks ago, bad decision became the best. Well, going against the grain the way he did to draft Jalen Hurts at the time, certainly not the best. I ripped it. Just about everybody else ripped it. Get a quarterback after you sign a guy to $150 million. What? It worked out. But the third guy on this list, when you look at Jalen Hurts, you look at Jonathan Gannon, the third guy is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders going into the offseason, what does he have left? Is he even the number one back anymore? Public service announcement. The following is an appreciation comment and comments about Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has risen to the occasion this season in a contract year about whether or not, I mean, as far as he's concerned, contract year for whether or not they are going to extend him after this season. Miles Sanders has done nothing short of blow me away this season with what he has been doing on the football field. Let's just start here. Ready for this? And I don't give a damn about jinxes. Okay. If this helps people, I'll do it. I'll knock on wood. Okay. He hasn't fumbled. He's recovered 2 fumbles. He himself has not fumbled. We're 8 games into the season. Your number one running back hasn't put the ball on the turf, hasn't put the ball on the grass. That's what your number one running back has done. Now let's go into the numbers that I know a lot of more people care about. Rushing yards, touchdowns. He's been amazing. He is on pace for a near 1,400-yard season. His previous total is about 860. He's on pace for almost 1,400 yards of rushing this year. His previous high is 860. He's already matched his season high in rushing touchdowns for a season at 6. And we're only 8 games into this season. He's going to blow that out of the water. And when we talk about rushing touchdowns with Miles Sanders, a number one running back, you know what we can't leave out? The fact that he is still, and I believe that is the fifth highest touchdowns, rushing touchdowns in the NFL. Miles Sanders with 6, 5th highest. And he is at that mark with a quarterback that continuously punches it in on quarterback sneaks. If they didn't have that quarterback doing it as often as he does, because Jalen Hurts also has 6 rushing touchdowns this season, if they didn't do that, imagine how much higher he'd be. And he's already 5th. That's pretty high. And there are plenty of situations, and I wish the Eagles would do this, because this is going to make me sound crude. It's going to make me sound crude, but it's the nature of the beast. I'd rather hand the ball to a running back at a 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, 4th and goal situation. I'd rather hand it to a running back at least a little bit more than what they're doing right now, so that my quarterback isn't being put in peril by putting his head first going in for the goal line, over the goal line for the touchdown, of course. That's what I'd rather see. But Miles Sanders has been phenomenal this year, and I feel like we've barely talked about it. We've been caught up, and rightfully so, A.J. Brown being amazing. We've been caught up in Dallas Goedert having himself a great year. We've been caught up in Jason Kelce, how great he's been as a center again this year, the Hall of Famer himself right there in the middle of the offensive line. We've been talking about Jalen Hurts as the MVP. We've been talking about how great this defense has been this year, but we have barely mentioned anybody I've heard talk about it is that Miles Sanders is having a career year. Jalen Hurts this season risen to the occasion. Jonathan Gannon risen to the occasion. Hey, what about Miles Sanders? Because we talked about him in the offseason. What are they going to do with him? Is he even a number one running back anymore? Is he even number one on this depth chart anymore? Yes. Exclamation point. Yes. It's really incredible. 7th in rushing, 5th in rushing touchdowns, 0 fumbles, on pace for nearly 1,400 yards. What did I say? His career high was 867. 867 yards is his career rushing total. That's his high. That's his high in his career. Appreciation for Miles Sanders and what he's been able to do for this team, because it is nothing short of amazing. And I don't feel like we have sung his praises nearly enough for what he has brought to the table for the Philadelphia Eagles. 25 years old, certainly looks like a guy that has a lot of good years left in him. So I think he's going to get that contract extension. Whether or not it's the big bucks, whether or not it's going to be something that blows a lot of people away, I just don't see the Eagles spending money on the position, unfortunately. But I think Miles would want to stick around in this offense. True, he might go elsewhere, cash in, maybe. Maybe the Eagles make something worth his while. Maybe before he turns 30, he still is giving you productive years here in this offense. But I needed to acknowledge something we have barely acknowledged on this show, which is how good Miles Sanders has been for the Eagles this year. And you know what? When you think about the fact that you have guys like Miles Sanders, you have guys like Jalen Hurts and even Jonathan Gannon and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and C.D. Deuce and Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and you have all these guys doing exactly what they've been doing to this point so far in the season, you add all that up with all these incredible players having incredible years, I should say. I don't know if you would guess that they're undefeated, but I think you would at least take a stab at, oh, wow, they must be having a great year, and they are. 8-0. And I think they're going to improve the 9-0, personally. I don't think I need to get ahead of myself to Monday, but nonetheless, here we are on this fine Thursday, predicting Monday already. Yeah, they're going to win. They're going to keep winning. And there's a simple reason as to why they're going to keep winning. And I know I've talked about this a lot, and it really comes down to mindset. It comes down to approach. It comes down to being 1-0. They don't look at a 17-game schedule. And this is where I think the brilliance of this team comes in with the leadership and the mindset and everything. They don't look at it as that 17-game schedule. They look at it as being 0-0 every week. It's like every week's its own season. And that might be exhausting for some people. But as of right now, that kind of works out for the Eagles. Because the minute they start thinking about, and this has been my approach, my take on the Eagles record ever since I heard Jalen Hurts say, I don't want to hear anything about the record. Nobody wanted to talk about us being 2-5. So we're not going to talk about the record then. We're not going to talk about the record now. They don't look at it as their record long term. The minute they start thinking about it as something bigger than what it actually is the minute they make a mistake, is the minute they overlook something, is the minute they think too much and they start gripping the ball too tight, whatever. They start overthinking their assignment on any given play. But if they break it down to its simplest form, which is, oh, we have to win this week, it becomes a lot easier to wrap your mind around. And that's, I know, not an easy thing because everyone knows the reality of the situation. Everybody knows that you're playing 17 games and you're trying to be undefeated and you're trying to win a Super Bowl, and you do all that combined and you're the greatest football team ever. Go undefeated in the regular season, win a Super Bowl. It's undisputed. Greatest ever. And that's what they're going for, which is great, which is something I love. Good for them. They should. I want your football team. I want our football team thinking like that every single day. But the reason they're able to do that, the reason they're able to convince themselves of that is something far greater than even their underdog mentality of the 2017 season, because they were literally underdogs. Oh, they were a number one seed. Yeah, that's true. But underdog has to do with the betting line. And they were dogs through the playoffs into the Super Bowl, and they kept winning. And they embraced it. They lost the MVP of the league. Carson Wentz would have been the MVP of the league. They lost him in week 13. They kept going. They still clinched home field advantage, and they still made it to the Super Bowl, and they still won the Super Bowl. All throughout that time, people were looking at it and be like, well, they don't have the MVP anymore. The quarterback is important. They're not going to do anything. They were officially underdogs. It was easier to sell people on that storyline because it was true. Now the idea of being the storyline that they're going to be perfect somehow. Now the idea that they're going to be favored down the line. Now the underdog thing, I don't think it really applies to this team anymore. But as far as whether or not they are going to be undefeated, you look at the leadership on this team. A lot of those guys like Jason Kelsey, like Fletcher Cox, like Brandon Graham, those guys who went through it for that Super Bowl run know a thing or two about mental approach to a game. The thing they hanged on to during that Super Bowl run and a year or two after that was the fact that they were the underdogs. This year, it's about when are they going to lose? How are they going to block out the noise that talks about how undefeated they are, how great they are, how much of a step forward a lot of these guys make? How do they block out that noise? Well, Jason Kelce set the tone for the beginning of the season when he talked about not being comfortable, can't be comfortable. Jalen Hurts talked about it, where he talked about how this team can't be a team that buys into any of that off-the-field stuff, any articles, any talking heads out there that want to talk about how great they are. That's all rat poison. That's what gets you in trouble. Now they have compartmentalized every single game this season to break it down to its simplest form of just winning that week and not worrying about 17-0. And I think the biggest reason for that is the leadership in the locker room. Yesterday, Nick Sirianni talked to Dave Spadaro of Eagles.com, PhiladelphiaEagles.com, where he talked about the mindset and the approach of this team and how he knows that this team has the right tone each and every week going through this so far perfect season.
You always want to be in lockstep with the players and going through and doing what's important to help you win football games. And we think like just the way we practice, how we go about our business, our process and how we practice, those things are important. And we got great leaders on this football team that know what it takes to get to the top. And they know that's the common denominator of teams they've been on. And I know it's common denominator of teams I've been on are, teams that practice hard, teams that connect and teams that compete. And so we're just continuing to try to preach that. And I know the players are as well.
That right there is what you want to hear from your head coach, acknowledging the leadership in the locker room. And that's what you want to hear almost as a report from your head coach about what's going on in that locker room. I reference it a bunch, but we always talk about teams that are playing well, whether or not they're going to overlook an opponent. We always talk about teams playing down to their opponents. In the last 2+ football games, okay? Now, the one exception is the game against the Cowboys. They were favored. They were at home. They were playing Cooper Rush. They weren't playing Dak Prescott. But they still scored a touchdown in that fourth quarter. Did you realize that the Eagles have scored touchdowns in 9 straight quarters? Scored one in every quarter against the Steelers. Scored one in every quarter against the Houston Texans. Scored one in the fourth quarter against the Dallas Cowboys before their bye week. 9 straight quarters of scoring touchdowns. But I thought they only scored the touchdowns in the second quarter. Not anymore. And I bring this up because the Steelers, not a good football team. The Houston Texans, not a good football team. Did the Eagles play down to their opponents? No, they scored touchdowns literally in every quarter against those teams. So I don't think they looked down on anybody in those games. They kept it coming. So the idea of this team, even though I was never sold on the idea that they were doing anything of the sort that was playing down to an opponent, they certainly go out and prove that over the last 8 quarters, let's call it, of football, even though they scored a touchdown against the Cowboys as well. So this team, I don't see playing down to the Commanders. I don't see them struggling in this game coming up Monday night. And, you talk about the schedule a lot. You talk about who's on the schedule, and everyone's talking about on the schedule and who's playing and all that stuff. The other thing that's really helped the Eagles is the idea that they had a bye week. Then they had a Thursday night game. So you basically had, even though you had to play on that short rest once, you have a nice 20-day span almost of being able to put your feet up, relax, recuperate, and get back to it. So we'll see how well they come back to it on Monday night. And then another long layoff to Monday night. It's not even like they got to play on Sunday. They got another day off at home. What? Thank you, schedule makers. Let's talk about this nice little November, late October, early November run that the Eagles have here. It's nice. Kick your feet up. Relax, everybody. So that's where the Eagles are at right now. There you go. I feel like I'm Paul Rudd in Anchorman, where I'm watching a panda give birth. But here's where I'm at right now. This is Turner Watch. And wait when Trea Turner will become a Philadelphia Philly. Jason Stark, I believe this was on the best show ever yesterday. My man Broads, Ty, Ricky Bell, what's happening? Jason Stark of The Athletic, Hall of Fame baseball writer, was talking about how there's rumblings already throughout Major League Baseball that Trea Turner is going and wants to go to the Philadelphia Phillies. Every day now, it feels like there's a little nugget since the World Series that Trea Turner is to be joining the Phillies. First up, it started, as we all know, with Bryce Harper in the broadcast booth talking about Trea Turner being his favorite ball player. Oh my God, that's awesome. He's going to be a free agent. Maybe the Phillies sign him. Then little hype video comes out saying that Trea Turner is available pretty much to everyone. That's what a free agent is, hence free agent. A little video comes out. John Hamm voices it over. So if he wants to stay in L.A., he's not putting out a hype reel to market himself to every other Major League Baseball team. I don't think he really needs marketing, as the fact that he's an all-star, he's a batting champion, he's hit for the cycle. I don't think he needs much marketing. He's a veteran. Everyone knows Trea Turner. This slide went viral. We all know it. So apparently he doesn't want to stay in Los Angeles. Then the odds come out, as we talked about yesterday, that the Phillies are the favorites to land Trea Turner. Okay, I'll take it. All right, nice. Then Hall of Fame writer Jason Stark says rumblings already down here of the Phillies getting Trea Turner. As far as I'm concerned, it's signed, sealed, delivered. Now, people might talk about how, maybe you don't sign Trea Turner. Maybe you sign some more pitching and you can round out your rotation and then you can have other guys. You can do more with that money. You can take the money and you can do more with all that. It's John Middleton's money. It's the Buck Cousins money. They're going to keep spending. Go over to luxury tax. Here's the beauty that we haven't even mentioned yet. We can all talk about how this is the first time this team is together, and look what they did. 2 wins away from a World Series title. 2 wins away. And unforeseen things happened, and you still got 2 wins in the World Series. Aaron Nola was terrible. Zach Wheeler had one terrible start, got pulled too early from another, and you were still 2 wins away from a World Series championship. You were 2 wins away from getting John Middleton his bleeping trophy back. If you're John Middleton or the Buck Cousins, and that's what you achieved in the first year that you ever went over the luxury tax, aren't you just a little bit more motivated to go over that luxury tax again? I would think so. But here's the deal. You might not have to. You can still spend top dollar and not go over that luxury tax because you have so much money coming off the books, especially with Gene Segura. And oh my goodness, if Andrew Painter is ready to come up to the majors, if you're going to get your minor league arms up at the big league level at some point in the upcoming season, guess where you're saving a lot of money. Your starting rotation. That ain't too shabby. When Jason Stark said there's already rumblings, I was just like, okay, he's a Philly. Like, just start the Photoshop images right now of Trea Turner playing shortstop. Trea Turner's going to be at shortstop. Bryson Stock's going to be at second. Yes, Rhys Hoskins is still going to be at first base. But here's the best part about bringing Trea Turner here, other than the obvious Trea Turner's in Philadelphia, Philly, is that you move Hoskins down, whose on-base percentage took a big dip last year, and you could have a little bit more flexibility with him in the lineup. The other thing that came out of the conversations from yesterday was that Bryce Harper, they're going to determine, I believe it's next week, whether or not he's going to have surgery. He's going to be evaluated again for his elbow injury, UCL injury, same injury that Josh Allen is dealing with the Buffalo Bills. But right now they're deciding whether or not, and by the way, it is Josh Allen's throwing elbow. So if Bryce Harper could just play DH, if he could just be the designated hitter and not play in the field because he couldn't throw, I don't think it's a good sign for Josh Allen. Now, there's different injuries. I haven't examined either, and even if I did, I wouldn't even know what the hell I was doing. But anyway, I digress. Going back to Bryce Harper. They're going to decide whether or not he needs surgery on that elbow to repair it, or if he just needs rest and rehabilitation. We'll see what comes of that. It's a nervous thing for every athlete to go under the knife, no matter how confident you are in the doctor, because you never know what could go wrong. But it's weird. I know a lot of people make fun of the phrase successful surgery. They've never heard a doctor come out and be like, I opened it up, and I had no idea that was his elbow. I thought I was operating on his knee, whatever. Like, no, you don't hear that. But once they decide, I think there'll be optimism in the Phillies organization that you can have Bryce Harper return to right field, which then, as Corey Simon pointed out to us the other day, obviously unleashes a bunch of at-bats at the designated hitter position for a guy like Rhys Hoskins to take, or a guy like Nick Castellanos to take. And they could spread that out, or even Alec Boehm to take for the DH there. So that would really help. And I'll cross my fingers that actually comes to fruition. But as far as Bryce Harper getting surgery, it's been my experience that whenever I hear an athlete questioning surgery, the idea of just getting the surgery, it's not my body, so I hate to jump to that conclusion. But whenever I hear it, I always think to myself, just get it done. You're having some of the top docs in the world operate on you. You get it done. And also, you know what else comes with that? That top doc that's operating on you gets to say they operated on whatever famous athlete, and it worked out for them. It's the greatest advertisement in the world for those doctors. So I think they're paying a little extra attention and being a little extra perfect when it comes to who they're operating on. And, this is going to be good for me. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to Bryce Harper, I think he'll be fine. I think ultimately they'll elect for surgery. He'll come back next year and win another MVP award. No big deal. It'll only work out as great as it possibly could, right? But more for an X's and O's standpoint in baseball, what I'm looking forward to most is opening up those DH spots for guys that might not be that best in the field. Rhys Hoskins, for instance, might be the best opportunity for him to move that designated hitter spot. And I remember when they originally said that they're going to have a DH. I know a lot of people, myself included, looked right at Rhys Hoskins and said, "Oh, that's perfect. Put him right in that spot. Not a first baseman. He'll be better in the spot there at DH." And it hasn't really happened thanks to the injuries there. So that's what I hope breaks down and happens with the Philadelphia Phillies in the not too distant future. One, Trea Turner is going to be a Philly. It's all but signed, sealed, delivered. And then two, Bryce Harper gets the surgery and then comes back next year 100% ready to go, and we can all party. Sixers back at it tonight. They're in Atlanta, 7:30 tip-off with the Hawks. Joel Embiid back in the lineup. Nice couple of days off for the Sixers after their win over the Suns, albeit Chris Paul getting hurt in the second quarter of that game. Sixers still controlled for the vast majority. A little slip up there in the third, reestablished themselves later in the third, and then in the fourth quarter as well, took care of business. So look forward to the Sixers being back on in action tonight. Seeing Tyrese Maxey again do what he needs to do to continue his great season, and Joel Embiid getting back into the swing of things and in shape when it comes to all the off-season struggles that he had. So I look forward to watching that game tonight. And then you have John Tortorella returning to the Columbus Blue Jackets returning to Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets, where he spent the previous 6 seasons, I want to say. They asked John Tortorella about this yesterday, and it was the most perfect John Tortorella response. It bordered on, I don't care, but it was really said in the, I don't get caught up in any of that. Yeah, it's nice, but I don't get caught up in any of that. Okay. I'm telling you, look, the Flyers are off to a great start at 7-3-2. They're off to a great start. All right, they're not tops of the Metro Division by any means, but from where they were last year to where they are now just to start the season, good for John Tortorella. Better. And they don't even have their number one goalie right now with Carter Hart. Take it. I love every second of it. Keep that coming. And Carter Hart, by the way, has a sub-2 goals against average, so he's off to a nice start, okay? But this is how you wanted to see this organization start out under John Tortorella. You wanted to see them start out on a positive note. Injuries or not, with the way last year ended, with the way the last 4.5 months, 5 months of the season went. If you remember, the Flyers were actually doing, go through every team. The Flyers were actually doing pretty well. Then I went to a game, then they went to the tank. So I'm officially the jinx. But starting out this season, they have started out better than I thought they would under John Tortorella. And that's not to say I thought John Tortorella was going to be terrible by any means, but I didn't expect John Tortorella to have the talent on the roster and even get the most out of that talent to the point where you're going to win 7 games right out of the gate like this. But nonetheless, they've done it. It's a much better start than I anticipated. Hopefully they just keep that going, and hopefully it even happens against Columbus Blue Jackets coming up tonight in Columbus. So that's what I got for you there on the Flyers. Let me tell you right now about the great people at Steven Singer. Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price each and every day. Each and every day, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Other jewelers like to mark things way up. Steven, though, puts it at the perfect price. Now, what's that perfect price? Well, while the other jeweler is experiencing, and you're experiencing that other high markup at the other jeweler, Steven's keeping it at that perfect price. So when you walk in, you don't have to feel like you have to negotiate or haggle or anything like that, because at Steven Singer Jewelers, you know what you're doing? You're sitting down, you're getting treated like a real family member by a real jewelry expert that's walking you through all the beautiful, dazzling diamonds they have at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Ready for Love diamond engagement ring standing by at the ready. During the seasons, they have the beautiful gold dip roses. Can't forget about them. But when it comes to getting engaged, no better place than Steven Singer Jewelers. At Steven Singer Jewelers, you know what you're getting there? You're getting quality, you're getting great service, and you're getting the perfect price guarantee that no other jeweler offers throughout the Delaware Valley, or anywhere for that matter. The perfect price. Other corner of 8th and Walnut, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about people on the Mojo app. Pretty incredible. Love or hate a player? You can go long or short instantly and build a portfolio in minutes. Am I talking about stocks or am I talking about players? I'm talking about both, because each player, through 300 skilled players in the NFL across quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, they each have a share price attached to them. Each athlete's stock on Mojo has a share price that rises and falls in real time based on on-field performance, news, and anything else that can affect expectations. Prices move all year long, so there's no off-season on Mojo. Mojo's published guarantee payout formula is based on objective stats, so you always know exactly what the stock is worth. Think of an underrated rookie is out there right now. Maybe you buy him low and you sell him high. Maybe I always reference this, Kenny Pickett. Maybe he's about to turn it on in his career. Maybe now you buy low and you sell high later. Jalen Hurts has gone up throughout the year. Miles Sanders has gone up throughout the year. Dallas Goedert's gone up throughout the year. All these guys are available on Mojo. Must be in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. It's available in New Jersey on iOS. And just by downloading the app, you can have a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Click the link in the description for a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Must be 21 or older, physically located in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let me tell you right now about the great people at PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Have you heard of Manscaped? Of course you've heard of Manscaped. Well, did you know you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com? Join 4 million men worldwide who take advantage of all that Manscaped has to offer, especially with their Platinum Package 4.0. Because, fellas, you want to look good everywhere, right? The Platinum Package 4.0 is their greatest bundle yet, and it includes the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, and they come with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Plus, it also includes the Ultra Premium Body Wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Ball Spray Toner, Anti-Chafing Boxers, and the Shed Travel Bag that you'll be using to hold the goods, that you'll be using to take care of your goods with Manscaped. Go to Manscaped.com, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. You've heard me talking about the amazing Freestone Farms CBD. Well, how would you like 20% off your CBD order? You looking to switch? Looking to use a different CBD? Maybe your CBD is not doing it for you? You know who will do it for you? Freestone Farm CBD. FreestoneFarmCBD.com. When you use promo code FARZ, you get 20% off at Freestone Farms CBD. FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll enjoy the tropical tasting Bayax that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu Kush. And 21%. So next, these guys are off the charts. Go to Freestone Farm CBD for 20% off when you use promo code Farzy. They're absolutely unreal. They grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM, so there's nothing synthetic from farm to jar. Then after harvest, they carefully preserve all their plant compounds with a perfect 3-month cure like a nice soprasata. So do what I do. Freestone Farm CBD. It's where it's at. That's what I got for you today. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine Thursday morning. Flying by. Week's just flying by. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Kevin, good morning. April, good morning. Sean, hello again. Sean Gillespie, Nostradamus himself couldn't even have predicted Carson Wentz's mental wellness or weakness. Miss Guzzi. Ooh, sorry. Wow. Mental weakness is. Sean really got him there. You know, I love when people invoke Nostradamus' name because I would have loved to have seen somebody interpret one of the prophecies of Nostradamus for any sports ever. But just let's stick with the point here. Carson Wentz, Nostradamus. Oh, I was reading this book by Nostradamus, and he was like, there'll be a ginger head signal caller. Because they're always kind of a little broad, the predictions. The signal caller with orange of hair. And he will be the total breakdown after great success. Like something like that. And it'll be like, holy God, he's talking about Carson Wentz. And there'll be another guy that went to a rolling tide to later go sooner than later. You know, I don't know. Something like that. Off the cuff, babe. Off the cuff. That's what I got for you. Sean, but I agree. I want to see Nostradamus try to predict it. Sean Leslie, please stop at the quarterback sneaks. I can't take it. I've argued against the quarterback sneak. I'm not an anti-quarterback sneak guy. Every once in a while, use it. Like they call it a sneak. Okay? The other team's not supposed to know it's coming. Jason Kelce, and I love when he was mic'd up a couple of weeks ago, you even heard him saying to the Dallas Cowboys defensive line, you know what's coming. And sure enough, quarterback sneak, first down. Jason Kelce has literally announced on his own podcast with his brother about how the quarterback sneak works like, 94% of the time? Well, okay, let's take Jalen Hurts, pretty damn good, pretty great athlete, okay, which is what you need in that quarterback sneak spot, or you need a Tom Brady who just leans forward because he's like 8 feet tall and it works. Okay, let's take Jalen Hurts behind a Hall of Fame center. You're going to get 1 yard. If de facto, 1 yard. But it's a sneak for a reason. You're not supposed to know it's coming. You're not sneaking anymore. It's just the play. And you know what? If you still know it's coming and you can't stop it, that's how you know it's actually pretty damn good. But I do have a concern, and I'm not the guy to play the injury card. I do have a concern that when you do that so many times over and over again, other teams know it's coming. Somebody's going to take a cheap shot, and they're going to try to do whatever they can to try to win that football game. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Mally. Good morning, Mally. Jeff's asking, how do Hurts numbers compare to Carson Wentz numbers the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl? Actually, not terrible. I'll have to look up just passer rating just to boil it down to its simplest sense. But both were MVP candidates, obviously, those years going into it. In 2017, Carson Wentz ended the season. Try to bring this up for you guys real quick. In 2017, Carson Wentz through those games. Wow. Wait a minute. Okay, no, hold on. I hit a button twice, Miss Guzzi. All right. Now this makes more sense. All right. So, wow. So, Carson Wentz's passer rating was 101.9. 101.9 that season. Now, as you would expect, Carson Wentz's passing numbers for touchdowns were off the charts. 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions that year. That's pretty damn good. And of course, this is a 16-game schedule, so projections, whatever. But passer rating 101.9. This year, believe it or not, Jalen Hurts' passer rating is 107.8. So he's almost 7 points higher than Carson Wentz's passer rating. Yards per attempt, I'll try to give that to you guys real quick as well. That is not, here it is. Yards per attempt for Carson Wentz, 7.5. Yards per attempt for Jalen Hurts this year, 8.5. So a full yard more. And completion percentage, see if I can get this to you guys real quick. Completion percentage. So far we're 2 for 2. Jalen Hurts over Carson Wentz. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Now, maybe it's not on here. Well, Carson Palmer was still playing. That's funny. Not on there. This is live stat research, but I want to get completion percentage because I know a lot of people will look at it as well. Carson Wentz, and the beauty of the internet is that these numbers are just right there at your fingertips. How amazing is that, huh? Pretty incredible. Carson Wentz completion percentage 2017. That's with Washington. This is, I know, riveting. I'm sorry. Completion percentage was 60.2%. Jalen Hurts again. By the way, Jalen Hurts, sixth highest completion percentage in the NFL, 68.2. So he's a full 8 points higher than Carson Wentz in 2017. I'd say that's pretty damn good. So I believe a clean sweep. Believe it's a clean sweep for Jalen Hurts over Carson Wentz as far as the numbers go to this point in the season. Carson Wentz played 13 games that season. Jalen Hurts obviously has only played 8 games this season. So Jeff, that's to answer your question right there. Mally was watching Speak on Fox Sports 1. Is it me or is Acho still butthurt about how the Eagles did him in? Because his hate is crazy. Is Acho anti? Is he being anti? I haven't watched Speak yet, unfortunately. But here, I'll hear my head coach speak for a second. I need this one more time just because I love the mentality of it. Absolutely love the mentality.
You always want to be in lockstep with the players and you know, going through and doing what's important to help you win football games. And we think like just the way we practice, how we go about our business, our process and how we practice, those things are important. And we got great leaders on this football team that know what it takes to get to the top. And they know that's the common denominator of teams they've been on. And I know it's common denominator of teams I've been on are, you know, teams that practice hard, teams that connect and teams that compete. And so we're just continuing to try to preach that. And I know the players are as well.
That's exactly what you need to hear each and every day from your head coach, just about the mentality overall of everything that they're able to do. Absolutely love it. So I didn't hear what Acho had to say, but if his hate is still strong, that's a shame because he's going to get on the bandwagon. And he's just, you know who he's rooting against? He's rooting against Howie. Because that's, in case you missed it, some years ago, maybe 3 years ago, there was a story from Acho about how the Eagles don't deal with injuries well. I remember Jeff McClain was talking about a story where they just didn't handle soft tissue injuries well, and a whole bunch of stuff that went into it. So it's just unfortunate when you look at, you know, some of the past. Who knows what's true? Who knows what's not? Here's what I do know: the Eagles are 8-0. I'm sticking with that as far as I'm concerned. But I didn't see the interview, or I didn't see him talk about it. Sean Gillespie talking about Shady there. I had a balance with Eagles love. Okay, well, Shady was balancing the Eagles love, so that's good to know about all the different things that went on there with the Eagles and all that good stuff. Now, when you hear from some other stuff here going on with the doctor, this is from Sean Gillespie. Hearing a doctor say, "What the hell is that?" is even more scary. Yeah, you hope that everybody studied at some point. So there you go. April, what's up, April? April's enjoying the Kelsey podcast. How could you not? Two very entertaining people. Tomorrow, by the way, I will have a little behind-the-scenes tour of the Jason Kelsey event I was at on Sunday while the Eagles had a nice off day. It was great. It was at Bach Bar. Beautiful, beautiful spot. And I'll have a nice little report for you guys from there on all the goings-on for the Kelsey event. That's everybody. The chat check. Thanks, everybody. Much appreciated. You were great as per usual. Let's get to our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. I just want to say this. While watching different sporting events last night and flipping around the channels, it was nice to not see an advertisement for any political anything. So that was a warm thing. Want to get that off my chest right out of the gate. Also, wanted to get this in. Sixers tonight, like I mentioned, 7:30, Atlanta Hawks. Sixers going for making it 2 in a row. Against the Hawks, be watching Embiid, be watching Tyrese Maxey. And I'll continue to watch this. And this is one of the things that I really enjoy. Paul Reed coming off the bench as your backup center. Doc Rivers spoke after the Suns game about the minutes Paul Reed was giving you. And I thought it was such an arrogant statement last year when he said we're not going to have the Paul Reed victory tour. Because where's the win in saying that as a coach? The win only lies in one place. And it's, even though he might think it's a win, it's a loss. If you're the head coach and you're saying that, you feel like, oh, I really shot the media down or question me, whatever. So you might feel good about that. But what if you're Paul Reed? Like, Coach, I've been working my ass off out here to try to get more minutes, and I'm not getting any more minutes, but I finally get minutes, and I perform well in those minutes, and you're going to tell me that it's not a victory of any kind? Really? And then what ended up happening after that? Paul Reed got minutes. So no one's looking to wave well, that's not true. There's some people that are looking to wave pom-poms over Paul Reed, but I digress. You could be happy for a player who's improving. And you could be happy for a fan base that is watching what's in front of them and going, oh, wait, this guy's playing better than anybody else. Maybe he should be getting more minutes. And then he finally gets more minutes. And now this year, he has worked his way into the role of backup center to an MVP candidate. That's substantial. Montrezl Harrell will get minutes, of course, in that role as well. You'll see those guys, I think, duke it out a little bit over the season. But right now, it's undisputed. As far as I'm concerned, Paul Reed is your backup center. That's a victory. The tour starts on Monday. That's what we'll do. So I look forward to watching that continue to progress throughout this year. Also, one final thing I wanted to get into about the Eagles and what they got going on during this layoff, of course. The question continues to come up about when the Eagles are going to lose, blah, 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 blah. So I was looking at the schedule again, and I think the obvious choice there is still this is one of the things I was going through yesterday when I was doing some hits. Mally, I was doing guest hits of nothing else. But when I was doing hits yesterday, one of the things that came up was that Titans game. And a lot of people are looking at that game as the game that the Eagles are going to take the first loss of the season, and they're basing that on Derrick Henry right now. I actually have two things I want to get into here when it comes to the hits I was doing yesterday. People look at that Titans game, and they go, okay, not really a stout run defense, to say the least. So Derrick Henry will have his way. If you go before that Packers game, and by the way, I still agree that the Titans, and they're the obvious choice, but I think there's still a substantial choice there. If you go the week before that, they play on Sunday night again in South Philly, and this one's against the Packers. I was thinking for the longest time that the Packers are just going to get right and get hot at the right time, and they're going to make the playoffs. There's no way an Aaron Rodgers team in an expanded playoff setting as well, like baseball, there's no way you're going to miss the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. They're going to miss the playoffs. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. But one of the things that you can look forward to from the Packers, and I do see the Eagles winning that game on Sunday night. One of the things I do look forward to, and here's the number one reason why. Now, Aaron Rodgers throwing into this secondary with his receiving core. As far as I'm concerned, Eagles win. But here's the beauty. This weekend, Sunday at 4:25, the Green Bay Packers play host to the Dallas Cowboys. So even though I don't think Green Bay wins on the road in Philly in 2 weeks, there's a chance they actually they beat this. Because look, people want to say that the Eagles aren't going to win every game. The Packers aren't going to lose every game from here on out. And yes, there'll be easier games for the Packers down the line for them to win, sure. But man, wouldn't it be sweet? Wouldn't it be sweet if Aaron Rodgers just, I don't know, somehow, magically, with his receiving core, turned it on for at least one game, and that one game was against the Dallas Cowboys? If there's going to be a beacon of hope for any Green Bay Packer fan, let that beacon of hope be the Dallas Cowboys coming to Lambeau, and hopefully the Packers wiping the floor with them. That's my little dream of dreams. The other thing that came up yesterday, and John McMullen asked me, John McMullen asked me this question. To play on the idea of undefeated, what happens if you get to week 17 and week 18 in the NFL season and you're still undefeated? Are you playing your starters? For me, that's a resounding yes. I'm playing my starters. I might treat it more like a old school preseason game where maybe they get a half, maybe they get a quarter. I want them going out there and staying in rhythm, staying on the same page, not having a long layoff. So there's the football side of it that I want them to keep playing, to keep momentum going. So that's what I like to see. And then, sure. Oh, no, it's about winning the Super Bowl. How about this? How about going for more than a Super Bowl when you have the opportunity to go more to go for more than just a Super Bowl. What? Super Bowl is the ultimate prize. Yeah, sure it is for a single season. But what about being the greatest ever? Get greedy. I want my head coach to get greedy. Here's where I'm at right now, heading into week 10. I want the Eagles to go undefeated, goes without saying, and I want the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And I think it makes more sense from a football standpoint to, if you're rolling, continue that momentum. Maybe you don't play the full game, but at least you're out there taking some snaps. At least you're out there maybe playing a quarter. You're out there maybe playing a half, depending on how you look. You stay in rhythm. You keep the momentum going. A layoff for 2 weeks, let's say you have everything wrapped up. Hell, you can have it with 3 weeks left of the season, everything wrapped up. In this division, it's still pretty tight. Maybe it is. Maybe it does come down to the final week of the season. But this division and the desire to maybe be the greatest team ever, have the greatest, here's the undisputed fact, maybe have the greatest season ever. Yeah, I'm going to keep that. And with the way things are really tight in this division, maybe that's what you're forced to do anyway. To keep playing your starters. Even if you only play them for a half, even if you only play them for a week, or excuse me, even if you only play for a half or a quarter, excuse me, maybe that's what you're doing in the last couple of weeks of the season. But yeah, I say go for it. Oh, there's no prize for BS. There's no prize. There's a prize. If you can win a Super Bowl and be undefeated, only one other team in the history of the NFL has done that. And that team is remembered forever. It's like, win today, walk together forever. Win 17 games and a Super Bowl, walk together forever. Sure, you win a Super Bowl, you do that as well. In Philly, you walk together forever. But around the entire league and all its history, oh, yeah, I'm going for it. Oh, I'm going for it. And this team with this schedule, yes, and this talent on this team could certainly do it. That's what I got for you today, folks. Hopefully we have another nugget. I know Trea Turner's already a Philly as far as I'm concerned, but hopefully tomorrow we have yet another nugget, another breadcrumb dropped when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies and Trea Turner. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyde, produced the show, did a wonderful job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. My name is Mark Farzy. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. See you.